there, the thing that I think is most important, DJ, in retirement planning is holistic, like you're mentioning, but
Hmm.
um, have a whole new set of questions that somebody helps you walk through. I'm
Right.
hoping and trying to do my part in helping financial planners and wealth planners to ask questions like, what if your kids move 1,000 miles away? How
Hmm.
will that change your retirement planning?
So today our guest is Sharon Rolph, aka the Courage Queen, and the author of the forthcoming book, Fresh Courage in Retirement: Finding Purpose, Essence, and Fulfillment, which will be released September 14th. She is a retirement coach and a certified knowledge manager. She's helping her clients understand there's a spiritual element to courage. She combines courage with a holistic approach to retirement. She believes we need a holistic view for the future because retirees aren't pulling their weight. Uh-oh. And we need to be fathers to our community. I guess that means being leaders in our community, and definitely when you have a place where you have all this knowledge and experience, you definitely need to be a pillar in the community. So hello.
Hello, good to be here with you today, DJ.
Yes,
Thanks
I'm
for
so.
having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And so I'm not in the place right now for retirement, but maybe some of our listeners are. One thing that people think about when they, have a bad day on the job is, oh, I can't wait till retirement gets here. I can't wait to retire. I know I worked with a woman once, and she would say, 3 bad days in a row, and I'm retiring. And yeah, that was her saying, 3 bad days in a row at this job, and I'm retiring. But retirement can be a fantasy that, when we really start moving towards actually getting to retirement, then we begin to find out that it may not be the fairy tale that we think it is. And we may not have totally prepared financially. And we definitely, I think, do not prepare for it emotionally and spiritually. And that's where you come in.
Yeah, that's where my behavioral science comes in. I've always had a hot button for potential and for purpose. Purpose has kind of been kind of a mystery about life for me from a very young age. And I want to live my God-given destiny, and I'm hoping that I inspire a lot of people to do that.
Yes, because you are a behavioral scientist. So I'm sure that also helps out a great deal as you work with your clients who are at a place where they're considering retiring or they've already retired, and the issues that can come along with that. Because, like as I said earlier, it may not be the fantasy that you have thought it was for so many years. And I listened to a previous podcast that you were on, and you were talking about longevity planning, and I guess changing our words. Instead of saying retirement, planning for retirement, we're changing the vocabulary to longevity planning. So how would you define longevity planning?
Well, longevity is as long as life is ours.
Mm,
You're not marking a season so much. So longevity, DJ, could be planning that you do
yes,
at a younger
yes.
age. But hey, I'm planning to live to 100 or more, and that longevity gives me that free space to think bigger than just, oh yeah, I'll make it to 70,
Hmm.
75.
Hmm. Hmm.
Why not go for, there's actually a club and a podcast called Living to 100. So I
Mm.
I want to get, you know, I, I know it takes a real specific focus to live wholeheartedly,
Hmm.
because you don't get to 100 without having some
Yeah, you figure
good
some.
living genes,
Yeah,
yeah, that
yeah, you
you
figure something out. Something's been figured out if you're living to 100, especially in the U.S. Something we have some questions for you. Anyone who's listening who's 100 plus, we want to hear what you have to say. So how does retirement affect us beyond money? Because when people think about retirement or longevity planning, they really, I think, limit themselves to just being prepared just financially, where I think you are thinking far beyond just being prepared financially.
Yes, I think it is a big detriment that all the focus has been on just money.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's our culture. I don't know that it's that way around the world, but at
Mm-hmm.
least here in America, it's just, our companies encourage us to put away for retirement. But
Mm-hmm.
um, when you no longer have a business card,
Yeah.
longer have a team that you've maybe been working with for 10, 20, 40, 50 years that kind of becomes family.
Mm-hmm.
You might have lost a few people in your family along the way, and so there's often some grieving that goes on with both leaving colleagues and leaving the older generation. But there's
Mm-hmm.
also that emotional thing that well, we've learned in this pandemic that all this isolation has a
Mm.
bearing on our mental well-being. In fact, I'm starting to connect it even with mental health and mental strength, to be a speaker for those ages avenues too. But there's well, and who talks about spirituality and retirement?
No, 'cause this is the first time that I've ever heard anyone mention spirituality being a part of, and to me, that's extremely important.
Yes. And I think it's starting to get some fresh air on spirituality and retirement. Because, after all, a lot of us do want to leave a legacy.
Hmm.
A lot of us do want to pass on our wisdom, even if it's just to our next generation family, kids and grandkids.
Hmm.
But do we plan on it? Do we make a project out of it? Do we, set some deadlines to it? This year I want to do this part. Next year I want to do another part. But there's kids in our neighborhood, kids in our extended family that need that mentoring and passing on and wisdom too.
Yeah.
So there's a big avenue of in my book. I cover I basically have it written around the 7 main things that everybody wants in life.
Hmm.
To save resources, to save time, to build fame and fortune, kind of,
Hmm.
and give back. And there, the thing that I think is most important, DJ, in retirement planning is holistic, like you're mentioning, but
Hmm.
um, have a whole new set of questions that somebody helps you walk through. I'm
Right.
hoping and trying to do my part in helping financial planners and wealth planners to ask questions like, what if your kids move 1,000 miles away? How
Hmm.
will that change your retirement planning? I've seen an ad on TV that says, "Oh, our kids are going to have twins. That's going to change your retirement planning."
Right. And I like that you bring up how our identity can get wrapped up into our career, and you know going to a place um every day, Monday through Friday, working hours at a place, having report to people or people reporting to you and vice versa. uh then all that's gone now. All that's the past, and now you don't have you're reporting to no one, and back to the spiritual aspect of it is that getting up every morning and going to work is a ritual, you know, and when you no longer have to perform that ritual any longer, it's going to have some consequences on you, and like you said, after that was that when your expectations are one way and then they don't turn out the way that you expected, i.e. having your family and grandchildren there, and they decide to get a new job or get a new house and move to a different state, and then now that's a part of your social life is now leaving. So I do like that you're saying that these are things that are coming up, that the things that the expectations that you thought were going to be there are not there.
Yeah, so that's where, especially DJ, where the emotional balance comes in. And some of us handle change better than others.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us like surprises, and some of us don't.
Right.
And some of us take a little time getting used to it,
Mm-hmm.
But you mentioned social, and I make these little art blocks, and they're going to
Yes,
be
I did
in
want to
my.
mention that because those are beautiful, and I want you to talk. So I'm getting really excited. So you showed me that, because you make these items yourself with these beautiful quotes on it, and they have these beautiful colors, and you sell them on Etsy, and I'll leave a link in the show description. But they are so beautiful, and I also will get to about your book and how you're going to have these beautiful images in your book. Now you made these yourself. It's I just think and I love quotes. I love quotes. I love having inspirational things around me to remind me. So I'm really impressed with those beautiful. And what do you call them? What is your word for them?
Well, they're fabric, and they're quilted, and they're art blocks. So they're the size of a postcard, in case you're just listening to them. But I use patchwork quilting style, and I combine it with words of wisdom or a scripture sometimes. And that is three of my favorite things coming together. I love to sew, I love color, and I love words of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the thing with retirement is you get to explore yourself in a whole new
Yeah.
way. There's nobody telling you what needs to get done, which
Mm-hmm.
kind of is what's missing. But you're the boss now, and nobody really tells you that clue in, you're the boss. So it's your
Right.
time to shine. So shine with remembering, did I used to have a dream, that I kind of buried a long time ago?
Mm-hmm.
Did
Mm-hmm.
I used to have a talent that went by the wayside, playing the piano, being a great pen pal? Who knows? In my
Right.
book, I try to bring up lots of ideas as to where might have you left off your dream, and be curious again to say, maybe this is the time to dust it off.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's very important that you find that creative spark, get reconnected to that creative spark, because I read somewhere about this sad statistic out there that many retirees die just 3 years after retiring. And why is that happening? And you spoke a little bit earlier about they're not finding that spark.
Well, my theory, and I have tried to verify that it is whether it's a myth or a fact, but my
Hmm.
theory is that people haven't found a new purpose.
Right.
And our parents, probably my parents, probably kind of figured it's time to be in a rocking chair all day. I've
Yeah.
earned this.
Hmm.
I'm tired. Well, you might be tired for 6 months, but what's going to get you out of bed now? And
Mm.
that lack of focus and purpose. I mentioned to somebody the other day that I was watering my plants, and I love while I'm walking every day to see what's growing, what's blooming, what's going to seed, whistle at the birds and all this. And I thought,
Mhm.
if plants aren't growing, they're dying.
Right.
Which one are you?
Exactly. If you're not growing, you're dying. Exactly. So, but society tells us many things about getting older and retiring, about what retirement means. And you had said a bit earlier about how society sort of tell us how we supposed to look and act and dress. And um, how do we form a better outlook on getting older and as we begin to retire and approach retirement?
Well, a lot of people kind of say this, and I think it's really true that you're as old as you
Feel
think you are. And
as you think. I like that because you said in another podcast, you said you're only as old as you think you are, and I like that.
yeah, I've heard a number of people say that. And I'm a 30-year-old in a 50-year-old body type thing.
I like that. Yes.
But I'm 73 and I brag about it because I don't look it. And
No, you don't.
that's kind of a blessing. You don't look your age either, DJ. And I take that as an extra blessing that maybe not everybody has. But
Right.
when you're worried and stressed and don't know what's next, then yeah, it kind of shows in your face.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I just never have gone there. I would rather be happy than to worry about things. There's a
Mm-hmm.
certain amount of things I try to be careful about, but one of the blocks I make, I don't think I have it here handy, but worry is a misuse of your imagination.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I love it. Worry is a misuse of your imagination. True, because that's what worrying is just your imagination running wild, you know? Yeah, I definitely love that. And one of the things that I think that I'm seeing people who are older now changing and redefining what it means to get older. I think that's so great that we are in a time where we know, and more people are understanding that this is not the end of my life. This is just another chapter in my life. And what I love what you're doing is you're helping people realize that and reframe their words. You're helping them to find out how to enter that next phase in their life and do it in a easy, effortlessly, harmoniously, holistic way, so that they're not having to do it through a big old trial and error. Time was of the essence.
So yeah, essence to me is living from your inner spark,
Mm.
that DNA that God put in there when you were born. And we nobody really teaches people how to know themselves. Well, we're not very good on reflecting, or doing a profile or research paper on yourself. But I've often valued that experience because learning about me is a good way to spend my time. So in coaching school, we started by writing an essence statement, and we reflected on our values and the things that we're good at, and what people complimented us on maybe, and what our guiding principle was, and then turn that into a metaphor that kind of, something out there in the world that I would describe myself as that, and you mentioned wisdom, I think earlier. Well, I like wisdom too. And so,
Hmm.
but when you're living from your being inner directed in that wisdom that's inside of you, that mystery that God put inside of you, your destiny, then
Hmm.
the world feels like it's a right fit, like it's a glove that fits you. Like, what you do is just made for you, because that was the design. The purpose is that you're living from your inner spark.
I
And
love
yeah,
that.
if you've been doing a lot of worrying,
Hmm.
finding that inner spark may be a challenge.
That's when we need to go out and reach you when we're having those kinds of issues, because um, I was a worrywart, in my 20s, and I journal, like that essence um, journaling that you were just mentioning. And I would go back and read my journal entries, and most of the things I was worried about after years of reading, of writing my journal and going back and reading different entries, none of it happened. All that stuff that I was worried about, none of it ever happened. And I need to stop this, because it was my imagination running wild. And so I caught myself through the journaling and writing down, my feelings and thoughts and worries and complaints, and then realizing that you're just sitting here doing stupid stuff. Wake up.
Wasting my life.
Right, exactly. Yeah, have you forgotten who you are? Exactly. It's time to remember who we are, how powerful we are. I love that Marianne Williamson quote. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. And these also will be in your book, right? You will have these quotes and these beautiful patterns in your book.
Yeah, not all of them, but there's about a dozen there. And
Hmm.
you know,
Passion has the ability.
when you're doing something that fits you like a glove, you're amazing to behold because you light a fire in other people too.
Yes,
They want what you got, you know, that passion for life, wholehearted
yes.
living.
Yes, I definitely want to have some of those quotes in my house. I definitely want to, be reminded, especially, remembering, who I am, and that I'm a child of God, and all is possible, and the possibilities are limitless. So we have to have those reminders around us. So I think that's so beautiful, and to have uh it's one thing going to a store and buying something that's been manufactured by machines, but it's different when someone's actually taken their time and energy and put that love and affection in what they're creating by their hands. It's a different energy.
I especially think that's true of quilting because it would be hard pressed to get the time you spent, you know, get it reimbursed. It's
Mhm.
mostly a labor of love. And
Right.
besides, when people give you a quilt, you usually receive it with that gift of love as part of the what you cherish about it, right?
Hmm. Yes, that's the thing about that makes it more tangible when you know the person that has created it. You know, it's different. It means more.
I know a group of people that made a quilt for all the babies that were born after 9/11 from
Oh wow.
people that were involved in that building. And they, yeah, it was like about 45 quilts that they had to make. And they tried to make it quick and fast. So I was later involved in making about 25 quilts in my church for sending off to some foreign country. And they said, well, our tip is make it quick and fast, because otherwise the project, keeps going
Right,
forever.
right. They got to dip in the bud at some point, So I definitely. So as the queen of courage, what is the best or the greatest advice that you can give as we close out to our listeners, how to be more courageous, and not just in as we move towards retirement and creating that longevity plan, but just being courageous in our daily life. And you hinted on this as we throughout this entire interview, but how do we sum it all up?
Well, I think a great way to have courage in fact, every day before I get out of bed, I pray for 20 people in my life that I want to see them to have a blessed day
Mhm.
and things work out. And so prayer is a very good tool for creating courage. And along with that, reading scripture and building yourself up with a principle or a, you know, don't fear but be courageous. That I stomped my foot and when I was reading Joshua, be of good courage, be of great courage.
Yes, yes, yes.
And
I,
then
I need that on one of your placards. I need that quote, that scripture.
yeah, yeah. So another couple things that are kind of related is being a volunteer or being a mentor. Now,
Mhm.
a mentor is usually thought of as somebody's progressing in their career, and that's certainly younger people coming behind us need somebody that knows wisdom and knows what works with people and knows how to ask things in a good way.
Mhm.
A movie that was kind of good about that was The Mentor with Robert De Niro, I think was a main character there.
Oh
For
wow,
yeah,
I'll look that up.
volunteering. One of my podcasts on AARP president came on and told about 9 things you learn when you're a volunteer.
Mm.
So we can give you a link to that maybe later, or it's also in my book. Um, you you have more courage, I think, when you got a reason to get out of bed. I like to use the term that we need to find a place to fit in, to matter, and to make a difference.
Mm.
And oftentimes that comes with volunteering, but it might
Mhm.
be taking on a project. And I don't recall if I told you this story, DJ, but I read of a purpose prize that is given every year. And this gentleman, I'm going to guess he was somewhere between 55 and 65, and he was an Indian, East Indian man, and he wanted to give back, but he said he figured out if 8 and 9 year old girls in India were taught computer skills,
Mm.
it would save them from being sex trafficked.
Wow.
That just so touched my heart. And I tried to go back and find that story later to include in my book, and I never did find it. But
Mm.
mentoring 8 and 9 year old girls
Yeah.
and what a difference he would make in their life.
Yeah.
So, another way to build courage is to get a coach, whether it's a career coach or um, a leadership coach or a retirement coach. There's getting to be
Yes.
a number of us out there now. Um, then that will help you have courage, because one of the things a coach does is hold you accountable. If
Yes.
you say you're going to do something, did you do it? And
Yes.
that's also living by your word and honoring your word to yourself. And sometimes,
Mhm.
yeah, you want to honor your word to yourself.
True. Exactly. Because
So,
if I can't tell the truth to myself, how can I tell the truth to others? And truth is something that has to start within. You know, and I think that's so powerful what you just said. That's how you build courage. I mean, that's the definition right there in itself. The honesty that you tell yourself, and holding yourself accountable, having someone there to hold you accountable, and really to hold you to being courageous.
well, and the other thing a coach will do, DJ, is give you a new frame of what you're going through and say, well, have you looked at it from this direction or from this other direction? There's often more than just a yes or no answer.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
no, I never thought of, because talk about possibilities. When I'm at I guess in college, I think they would say, if you came upon a car accident, um, and with this, what you see, what do you imagine was happening, or who was at fault, or whatever. Well, you could, give 20 different perspectives on that,
Yeah.
and or why did somebody? There's a story about somebody being kids running through the train on the way home from it turned out they were on their way home from the mother just passing away, and
Uh,
somebody was getting all upset about these kids running around a bit playing tantrums, in the train. And who knew that they were going
Yeah.
home with their mom?
Yeah,
So
that's that's
benefit of a new frame and a new perspective.
mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's the thing that we have to practice is compassion, and that which takes courage to practice compassion. And
Yes.
even when people are not acting the way that we think they should act, we need to have compassion because we don't know all the story behind their actions. So yeah, that's so important. All these things that you're saying is that is it's like the in order to do them and do them effectively, like what Maya Angelou would say. She would say the greatest virtue of all is courage. And most people would think love, but she would say it takes courage in order to love,
Yeah.
you know? So to me, that's the very powerful, right? Isn't it? Very, very powerful. So your book will be out September 14th,
Hmm.
and we can get it on Amazon. And is there any other ways that we can get your book or get in contact with you?
Yes, my website is effortlessvitality.now.site.
Mm-hmm.
If you just Google it, it'll bring up effortlessvitality.org, and that's a nice website too, and it is mine. But I've moved on from there because in the now.site website, I bring in how I think it's time to disrupt retirement. Let's have a new
Yes.
paradigm for retirement.
Yes.
And both places, I have a free offer for a handout that I call 3 tips to create a new life after retirement.
Yes.
And it kind of comes from one about chapter 3 or 4 of my book, some of the ideas. And another one, I think is on my website. I have to check where I put it, but it was about building social health
Mm-hmm.
and dealing with that whole issue of isolation and how do we get some momentum going on helping ourselves be mentally strong and grounded, I think.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I will leave the link to your book, Fresh Courage in Retirement: Finding Purpose, Essence, and Fulfillment. I'll leave the link and in the show description, and any other links that you provide me, I'll also leave there as well. Because I am and definitely please leave me the link to your Etsy account so I can get some of those beautiful quotes that you have created by hand. I think they're beautiful. I can't wait to see some of those in your book. I think it's just so exciting what you're doing, and to listeners out there, please reach out to Sharon and to me too as well if you want to know more about retiring with courage. I think that's it's amazing because I think that people need that they and I think we talked a bit about this in a when we talked for the first time about that we people are interested in spirituality. It's a shift is happening, and we're just on the cusp of it. Where people are going to start asking more deeper and profound questions. The news media. I was watching a quote that I saw, and it said that it's a reason why we call it a news cycle because it's just recycled news, you know. And people are going to get people already. I think people are getting to a place where they're ready to hear something different and they're ready for new answers. So, and the people that I'm talking to, I think, are the people that are they're going to gravitate to because they are at a place where they like what they've been saying isn't working. Let me try something a little bit different, you know.
Well, and I'm more than eager to be a speaker. I actually would like to be an international speaker. I
Mhm.
think there needs to be a conversation started. And because the other thing that jabs my heart so much is that there's an average of 47 hours of TV watching a
Mm,
week for retirees, and that is potential waiting to be
Yeah.
So we need to give them a reason to be getting out of bed and getting away from the TV.
Exactly. And volunteering, I think, is a great thing, because I always say volunteering is the rent that we pay for living on this planet, and it makes us happier. And use all the experience that you have to help to mentor someone. Go ahead.
Let me mention a book that I was thinking of earlier while you're talking is another book that I highly recommend. And you won't learn what you think you'll learn out of it, but it's called The Soul of Money, SOUL, The Soul of Money. That will give you a whole new perspective on the world and money and yourself.
Yes, and I downloaded that book and bought the audio version of it. It's the audio. I'll leave the link in the show description. But if you want if you're like a person who loves just to listen to books like I do, I always do immersive reading where I'm reading the book and listen to it at the same time. And you can buy the book on Kindle, and you can buy the audio version of it as well. I'll leave the links there. The Soul of Money. I can't wait to start actually reading it. I think it's going to be the title in itself gets me excited. Soul and money. I mean,
my book will be available on Kindle too, and I'm starting to look into doing an audio version of it too. So
yeah, and hopefully we can have you back and we can talk about the audio version, and also talk about any other new projects that you have going on as we progress into this new dimension. Well, thank you, Sharon, for for being a guest on the show, and I wish you all the luck in the world, and I'll be there rooting right along with you as we grow
to the next 100 years.
Yes. All right, take care.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye.